So, Trisha Hirschberger wanted to know, what silly things did I believe about my body when I was a kid? You know, I didn't believe in Santa Claus either. Okay, so I'm naked and fat and have bed hair. So obviously, I have an itch. Right here, just an itch, yes. Obviously, this is a naked blog, and we're talking about misconceptions you had about your body in youth. I actually have to say, much like Santa Claus, there wasn't a lot about my body I didn't believe when I was young. I, you know, my mother was a science teacher, or at least she taught science at a youth center. I mean, she kind of taught me all about my body, so I didn't get those silly misconceptions. I never believed in the stork. I didn't know where babies came from, but I knew the stork wasn't it. Knew it had something to do with a daddy and a mommy, and that was kind of my youth. I was never good at being young, people told me, and not really good at being a person either. So there's this thing. So where can I find something worth talking about in this? How about some people theorize that women realizing that they bleed with the cycles of the moon, because a woman has a monthly cycle and the moon sort of has a monthly cycle, led to the first calendar. This is a theory. I mean, I don't know how well it's supported, but as much as I don't believe this theory because I don't think we really could go back and find out, I like this theory. This theory states that women realizing that the moon and their biological cycles constituted an ability to tell time came up with the first calendar, which was a wand that they wound something around in order to keep track of the seasons. This gave them a rudimentary ability to foresee the future. When to harvest, when to gather, when certain things would be abundant and when they would not be abundant. So this offered a major survival advantage and was the beginning of the idea of the magic wand. You had a wand that could tell the future. So here is a rudimentary belief about the human body and nature and time. It seems kind of silly to us, but when we think about it, when you look at a weather forecast, this is a prediction of the future. And if you don't have a roof over your head, or, it's going to rain Friday, they said. It's actually drizzling outside my house now. So that was the forecast. Well, if I had to get firewood to keep myself warm, and would know that firewood would be wet, so I had to get it all today, this would be a very important fact. I mean, we're talking before they had bricks and mortar here. We're talking if you were living inside of something, it was probably a cave or a woven hut. So these things were important. The rudimentary ability to say what's going to happen 3 days from now, a year from now, 6 months from now. I mean, they didn't know how long winter was, so it was like, okay, it's getting colder, we need to store this kind of food because it stores, and keep it until, winter's over, and try to budget how much we eat. These were things that they didn't know at the time. So this rudimentary idea of being able to tell how long is winter going to last, that was a big thing. Really was a big thing. So ladies, just remember that your body has a little bit of magic in it. And that's why men are always staring, because we envy that magic. Yeah. Another belief that I guess would be interesting is that in certain places in Africa, there are tribes that believe that the most potent blood is menstrual blood. I believe they separate blood into 3 categories. Exactly what those categories, I don't know. Menstrual blood in certain places in Africa is believed to be able to deeply injure people. There was an anthropologist who opened a pool in Africa. That's where he studied. I believe I might be pronouncing it wrong. He was a resident of the Edelmame tribe, and he studied them and wrote articles about the Edelmame. And the Edelmame apparently believed that if you swam in the same pool as a woman who was on her period, you would become a paraplegic. It would damage your limbs, so you would be paralyzed. Yeah, well, okay. This definitely would come from the fear that blood carried disease. And I mean, if you notice Christian religion, there's a lot of emphasis on the blood. In the Jewish religion, focus on the fact that we may not consume blood. We are entitled to an animal's blood, or I'm stupid. We are entitled to an animal's flesh, not its life. The blood is the life. Okay, very famous quote from Leviticus. I couldn't tell you which part of Leviticus, but Leviticus. And in the Christian faith, they talk about the blood of Jesus, the blood that spewed from his side and fell into the Holy Grail. Okay, and even in Holy Blood, Holy Grail, they talk about the fact that the blood royal may refer to the bloodline, not the Grail itself. So there you are. Lots of interesting things on that particular kind of thought process. Blood has always had a certain importance to the human spectrum. Of course, one would think that someone would be able to just jump in there and prove that menstrual blood is not dangerous. But one of the things we have to understand about belief is we should always be respectful of people's beliefs. For one thing, if you attack someone's beliefs, they will defend their beliefs, regardless of how wrong they are. Meaning, if somebody believes there's a three-headed monster under their bed, you telling them that they're stupid and there's nothing down there is not going to help. So, it's just kind of how that is. Some beliefs are just absolutely out there. Not that I'm bashing anyone in particular. I'm just making the statement, if a Catholic and a Protestant got into a room and started arguing about religion, I'm not sure you could say one is right or wrong, but I can guarantee you that if they get violent about it, you're not going to weaken someone's faith. You're just going to strengthen the fact that they disagree with you. So be clear on that. We should always be respectful of someone's faith because they have that faith for a reason. And challenging that faith may make them very defensive. So it's just one of those things. People have strange beliefs, misconceptions about their bodies. You want to be very gentle when you explain to them the truth. Like I say, my mother taught biology, and I remember as a 4-year-old, I was a real skinny 4-year-old, and we actually went into the classroom, and I took off my shirt, turned around, and she pointed at my back and showed my vertebrae, and that was a lesson in physiology and anatomy. And I mean, we had cartilage from chickens, and we showed this is cartilage, and this is what's between your bones. I remember all that sort of stuff from being a kid. When I was a kid, I was already standing in front of a classroom educating people. So that's one of those things. So, this is me trying to participate, Trisha. I hope you appreciate it. There are times it is very difficult for me to come up with something worthwhile to say, and I hope this was interesting.